Here's my biggest question about online video, because your video is serialized.
Right.
And with typical television series, you've got your DVR, you've got your TiVo reminder, you've got all these ways of keeping plugged in and keeping coming back to that video. Whereas online video, my particular problem with it is that I'll watch one episode and then I'll forget, or I'll just fall off. So how do you keep that online video experience truly serialized?
It's definitely hard, and I would say that, you know, if I had sat down, if Greg and I had sat down and said, let's start an online community content company, there is no way we would have started with Lonely Girl. You know, this was not planned, you know. I love Lonely Girl. I love the LG15 universe. From a story standpoint, I think it's cool. It's very, because I like Buffy and Lost and all that, and LG15 is very Buffy. But it's tough. Serialized content online is probably the hardest to do, number one, and the hardest to promote and the hardest to keep an audience and all that. We're fortunate in that we've done it for like a while now, and I think that we've come up with ways to make the format work. But, I mean, the answer is, number one, you have to constantly promote, you have to constantly market. Well, that's great because we have a TV show that's going to be on every single week that's going to be telling people to go to harpersglobe.com, so that helps enormously. Second, it's contained. It's 13-episode TV series, 16 episodes online, beginning, middle, end, and then go and watch whatever the hell else you want to watch. If you sign up for the site, you get a profile page, you get notifications. So every time we do a daily post, you get a notification. You can unsubscribe if you want. And then every time we send out a weekly episode, you get a notification. You can unsubscribe if you want, but you can be kept in touch that way. And I think that having a destination URL that is the heart and soul of the fan base for the show is really important, because all you have to remember if you want to keep watching the show is, I got to go to harpersglobe.com. And when you go there, it's really simple. I mean, it's literally, there is a tab for each episode. You know, it's not hard to navigate. We've spent a lot of time trying to make it as user-friendly as possible.
So you mentioned privacy concerns earlier, which I thought was really interesting and something I, a non-content creator, has never thought about before. But for other content creators out there, what would you recommend they do in trying to figure out where their content should live?
I mean, everybody, if you have any intent to use the site in a professional capacity, you have to read their terms of service and their privacy agreement. Like, clicking through and not reading it, in my mind, is crazy. You are literally entering into a legally binding contractual relationship with a separate entity. And so, I mean, that's basically what I'd say. I mean, now, all the sites that we work with, we have typically a separate contractual relationship with them that we've negotiated because we're a bigger company. But back in the day, when we were literally just people in our rooms producing content, like I said on the panel, I read the terms of use for YouTube. It was number one on my list for whether or not I was going to work with, put Lonely Girl on that site. You know, it's the same goes for Facebook, same goes for all these sites. So I think that you just have to be aware of what rights you're signing over. You also need to have enough savvy to understand it. So if you can't understand the terms of use, you should have a friend help you out, or if you know a lawyer or a family lawyer or anything. Some of the terminology sounds scary, but it's actually not. Like, there are things in our terms of use, and there are things in like Facebook's terms of use or MySpace that have to be in there. Think like you have to have a license, for instance, granted to you to distribute the content that is on your site. Because if you don't, then literally an embed code is technically a breach, breach of that content owner's rights. So there are certain things that you need to understand are not as scary, but yeah, it's just important to read all that stuff.
I think that's a really important point, and something for maybe younger content creators to take pretty seriously, because I think they're probably not thinking of that. They're just thinking of like trying to make something good.
No, totally. And I mean, certainly people assume, I mean, it depends on the site, right? There are, like with Facebook, people 100% assume that they own everything that's on that site. I mean, how can you not? That site is 100% built on me interacting with my friends, and they're painstaking about my privacy settings with friends and stuff. And so it's no surprise at all that there was a huge backlash when they tried to. I mean, the truth is, nobody had read their terms of use before. I mean, I had. It was worse. I mean, it's always been that way. Like, that's how Facebook has been their terms of use. So it's actually changing now because it got brought to people's attention. MySpace has a very flexible terms of use. It's very good, actually. which some people might think is contrary because they're owned by Fox, but it's actually great. YouTube's has always been super flexible.
How did you shift from working with Bebo, Lone Girl, and Katemodern into working with a television network?
We're lucky because we're in LA. So, and when Lonely Girl got really popular, we were working with CIA very closely at the time. So we met like all the studio executives, and we had some offers to get production deals, and we ended up deciding to turn them down and continue with our own company. But when we raised money, we started thinking, okay, well, we really would like to work with those guys because TV still gets tons of viewers, and we think that it could be a huge driver, and also it'd be really cool to create something that was multi-platform. And so we reached out to Quincy, who's the CEO of CBS Interactive, and Nancy Tellum, who runs the network, and talked to them about a partnership. And so, just reached out and started talking to them, and were able to figure out a deal that made sense. And then since then, now that we are in Hollywood, and I think that for our company too, I think we're the only company in our space that was founded by people who started out as content creators. I co-wrote and co-directed, and I did all of the editing for, the first 6 months of Lonely Girl, and I was like the head writer for the first year, and I wrote the first few months of Katemodern, and so we have a lot of credibility. So when we meet other people who are creatives in Hollywood, whether it's Anthony Zeiker, who we're working with on Dark Chronicles or whatever, they respect that, and I think that helps a lot too.
So, last question for you. Where do you think the future of online video is going? And I mean that from we've got these devices like Roku and Xbox, which are connecting that online video experience with the television experience. Is that where it's going, where linear television and online video will just all be plugged into the same place, or something else?
I sort of see things as being, there's two pieces. So on the technology side, I see integration becoming more and more common. So I think somebody on the panel mentioned that one of the biggest complaints is that it's very hard to integrate various services. So as more and more services have APIs, particularly two-way APIs, it will be easier to have a website, for instance, and the types of sites we produce are going to be like this, where you can have your Facebook friends and your MySpace friends and your Twitter followers and your Flickr photos and your PhotoBucket photos and your YouTube videos all in one place in a seamless fashion in the context of this entertainment property brand that you're interested in right now. So, Harpers, right now you can bring your YouTube videos and Twitter. As we do some other shows over the course of the year, you'll be able to bring a lot of stuff to that site. So that's what's happening on the tech side, and we're not the only ones do it. Lots of people are doing it, and there's huge movements on the really geeky side of like open standards and all this kind of stuff that's happening. The other piece is on the content side. I think it's really about the brand, meaning the entertainment brand, and identifying what is that core brand and who is the audience that cares about it, and then how can we take that concept and then recreate it, literally creating a separate property in different mediums. So Disney actually is great at this, where they take something like Hannah Montana and they can make a feature film, and they hire people to make a movie, and they can make a TV show, and they hire a TV writer and TV team to do it. They have, Hannah Montana, I think, virtual community, and they have a great team that built that. They have, I think, a ride, I'm not sure. They have, obviously, CDs. And so that's where I really think things are headed, so that as a consumer, you can go to any platform that you like, whether it's iPhone, browser, TV, feature, Kindle, whatever, and say, I like the brand, LG15, for instance, and I can get that brand in the proper way on all these different platforms.
And so just as a reminder, Harpers Globe, first episode launched today, right?
It's today, yep.
On harpersglobe.com.
Yep, harpersglobe.com, yep.
Well, thank you. I really
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
Yeah.